February 22nd, and it is episode number 579. Welcome to the show. It is a sunshiny day in Los Angeles. I hope everybody's feeling good. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We have a fantastic guest today, a soldier, a lifer in rock and roll and punk rock and metal, whatever you want to call it. This is the great Buzz Osborne today from the Melvins here. And I got to tell you, it was an honor to talk to this man. He is a very honest man, a great interview, lays it out there, lets you know exactly how he feels, and that is a breath of fresh air. Great new record. I've listened to it for about a month now, and I think everybody is going to love this. I mean, these guys have been working like almost their whole lives, and it is very inspiring. I got to tell you, it is all about doing art because it's what you love. It's not about monetary or fame or anything like that. The Melvins are probably as pure as you can get for art. And I think you guys are all going to love this episode, and you're going to love the new record. If you are new to the Melvins and you have no idea where to start, just open up your streaming platform and just pick one. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what eras are better than the other because they're all great. It's all Melvins, and it's all good. Great to talk to Buzz. Before we get into it, I do want to give a little. It's a weird day today. It's the 2-year anniversary that we lost Brody Stevens, and it doesn't get easier. It does not get easier. That guy was he just meant the world to me. He put smiles on everybody's faces, and he really was the real deal. So I miss you, Brody. I miss you every day. I think about you all the time. I hear your voice. You got it. Positive energy. I hear that ringing in my brain constantly. And I love you, brother. I love you big time. Okay, guys. Let's see. San Diego this weekend. I am kind of slowly getting back to work. Here and there, pockets of stand-up, trying to figure out how to get funny after taking that long off. And I do enjoy the challenge and the weirdness of it. It's like when I first started stand-up, so I'm kind of digging that. I will be at the Grand Comedy Club in San Diego, 4 shows, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. The great Macy Isaacs will be featuring for me, and it's going to be a great weekend. I'm looking forward to just bombing or killing or doing medium, whatever. I'm just looking forward to getting on the damn stage and doing some stand-up and hopefully making you guys laugh. Also, Des Moines, Iowa, I will be out there for 3 shows at Teehee's Comedy Club, March 12 and 13. Looking forward to that. And then there will be a Bay Area date coming up, I believe, in May. So stand by for that. Also, if you are new here, I have a second podcast called The Grail that is dedicated to all kinds of people in this world that make stuff with their hands, artists, makers, artisans, all of that. The Grail Podcast, and you can find it on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Libsyn, all over the place. And I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Dean Del Rey, where I do a bonus episode every week of Let There Be Talk. And I do a little Zoom fest where all the fans can jump on and we talk to each other on the weekends. It's all great. Dean Del Rey is the Patreon. Check that out. And I do want to remind you, a lot of probably guitar players will be listening to this, or musicians. CBD Lion. That is what I use for all my aches and pains and my sore neck my sore knees, my hands, everything. CBD Lion. Also, it helps me with my anxiety, which flares up quite often during the lockdown. CBDlion.com, the cleanest CBD in the world, family owned. None of that truck stop bullshit. This is real deal, third party tested. All right, I use the tinctures, I use the roll-on, I use the sports tape, I use it all. I even use the bath bombs. I soak in CBD. It helps, I'm telling you. CBDlion.com. CBD Lion. Use the code DEAN. CBD makes me feel fine. CBD Lion. Check it out. Let's get into it right now. Don't forget to check out that new Melvins record this Friday. Working with God. Unbelievable music. Here he is, the great Buzz Osborne. Yeah, I didn't know your wife did the artwork until I talked to Dale. I love her artwork, you know. I mean,
yeah,
I grew up in that San Francisco kind of. Kozik was everywhere, and then I got to LA, and it was, you know, Robert Williams and Mark Ryden and Todd Shore, those guys. So it's cool to see rad art always, you know, especially on covers. It doesn't happen anymore.
It's few and far between, but, you know, probably always was. Like, it's funny, though. We've been married 27 years, and she's been a graphic designer long before I knew her. And so I'll always say stuff like, what do you think of this record cover? And I'll say, and point out all the things that she doesn't like about it, you know. And I'll go, you know, you're right. Or then there's ones that are like, I think this is a great record, but I don't like this cover. Or I think this is a really great record cover. You know, lots and lots of stuff like that. So all the time. We'll do that with billboards just driving around town, you know. What do you think of that? Do you think that works? Think that works as an advertisement? No, not really, you know. Just on and on. And that has helped me so much in my ideas about graphic design or my ideas about art, or in my own life. I'm an amateur photographer. That's the kind of thing I love to do. And so that's helped me. I've done that for years, but it wasn't until recently that I started showing people my pictures. So.
Oh, wow. And you shoot film or digital now?
All digital. Yeah. I mean, when I was a photographer, when I started out, I could never afford film.
Yeah.
It was too expensive. And so I would do very little photography, but what I did, I loved. But when digital came along, then I was able to just go whole hog into the whole thing. And I'm not looking back, you know, I think it's really cool. It gets better all the time. The thing about it is with that kind of thing, I kind of use like the Jimi Hendrix explanation, where it's like, if you gave Jimi Hendrix the worst guitar in the world and the worst amp, he would still be able to do something with it. So like if you give any photographer, if you give Man Ray a digital camera, he's going to make a good picture with it. It's just that they're just good. It's because it's the Indian, not the arrow, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I'm obsessed with mid-70s rock photography, especially outdoor stuff like Dan the Green photos, where you see the weirdness of rock and roll being played during the day. That's always weird to me. Like a Zeppelin photo at Oakland Day on the Green. You're looking at it like, whoa, look at these guys. They're out during the day. I love that stuff.
And they don't even look like they're awake yet.
Yeah.
They're probably supposed to be.
Yeah. Jimmy in his dragon pants at noon.
Well, you know what's funny was I always thought was really funny. It took me a long time to realize he had that white suit that had the opium poppies all over it.
Right.
And then he had the dragon suit, and I was like, oh, chasing the dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're both heroin suits, you know? It's like, got it. Now I get it.
Yeah. What I love about you is, and I wanted to ask you if it was because of AM radio, because you're, I think, 56 or something. I'm 55.
I'm 56.
Yeah. Do you believe your musical palette, meaning you like all different types of music, came from being on the AM radio? I felt like that for me.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, radio for me growing up was all it was AM radio. And then I realized I could reach, because I lived in rural Washington State, like 100 and some odd miles away from Seattle on the coast. And I could at night I could sometimes pick up the rock station from Seattle. Sometimes if the weather wasn't too bad, and I didn't have a huge like some monster stereo system or something. It was mostly transistor radio type stuff. But my introduction to music wasn't from a little bit from the radio. It was mostly just, when I was 12 or so, just thought that it was something that might be interesting to get into. And I got into bands like Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, Ted Nugent, Kiss, all that stuff to start with. And I would buy magazines because there's nothing else. There's certainly no record stores where I lived, and certainly no internet. And this would be 76, 77.
Yep.
And I would buy magazines like Hit Parader or something like Cream Magazine or something like that. And there'd be pictures of these bands like The Clash, the Sex Pistols. And you could also, in some of the magazines, order those records in mail order lists in the back of the magazine. And so solely on the pictures, I started buying that kind of stuff. And I would give my mom money that I would make from like, mowing lawns or something like that. And she would write me a check to this company, and then I would send it to them. And then, and people now, especially young people now, would never believe this. When I was a kid, and if you're 55, it's the same thing. Delivery time was 6 to 8 weeks, So then you wait forever, and then a record finally shows up. And sometimes the record would show up broken. So then I have to resend it back. And so it would be, you really, really put in, it was a lot of time went into that kind of endeavor. And then you get a record like, never mind the bollocks. And music like that changed my life. But for me, I never stopped liking, because I never had anyone around me to tell me it wasn't cool. I never stopped liking Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, Led Zeppelin. So I liked all that stuff as well as The Clash and, the Sex Pistols and any other of those bands, The Damned and anything. That grew into, from that grew into lots of other punk rock stuff. And then I started realizing those bands were playing in Seattle. I could figure out once I got mobile by the end of the 70s, and I could start going to concerts. Nobody was going to drive me 100 and some miles to go to a concert. That's for sure. And so by the late 70s, early 80s, I was, fully immersed in as much live music and records as I could get my hands on it. And so I think that I never lost that. When I got into punk rock, I never lost all the bands I always liked, be it Pink Floyd or whoever it was. And so I think that's kind of where all of our cross the board musical mentality comes from. Dale, when he joined the band in 84, he goes, I was really surprised because you guys listened to everything. You didn't just listen to one kind of music. You weren't metalheads. You loved metal, but you also loved all kinds of other stuff. And so, the Gang of Four, whoever, it was just, it was all open for me. So now on a typical morning, like this morning, I listened to Van Halen, Tom Waits, the Talking Heads, and a Chris Cornell solo record. So
yeah, that's about exactly right over here. It might be into Earth, Wind and Fire, into Tom Waits' Bone Machine, into some Kraftwerk,
Yes, into Throbbing Gristle for half an hour,
Yeah.
just never know. I mean, you never know. Like my wife said, you take a record like Throbbing Gristle, Heathen Earth, and you turn out all the lights and just let that thing play. That's what you do, And then you put on a Tom Petty record. You enjoy both of them,
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, I don't go watch one type of film. I'm a comedian. I don't just go see comedies. Why would you listen to one type of music? It always tripped me out.
Yeah, I think I could draw something from all of it. It's all good. There's something good. I mean, even the worst band out there, I can probably find one song I like. If I went through everything, I could probably find one song. Probably, I'm not a Grateful Dead fan, but I'm sure I could find songs I like.
Yeah, I hated the Dead until a few years ago. Now I'm just obsessed with them, which is wild.
But I mean, I'm sure I could find stuff I thought was good. If I wanted to sink the time into it and look, I'm sure there's songs that I would like. I'm sure there is. It's just like country music or any of that stuff. I love all that stuff, all of it. And there's always something, some band, even the worst punk band will have some moment of their music that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You have to search for it. If I like one song on a record, I'll buy the whole record. I don't want just a single. I don't want to just, Spotify, you can just have the songs you want. No, I want the whole package. I want all of it.
Yeah. I don't fuck with Spotify. It's funny because it reminded me of something I read from you years ago. You were like, look, The illegal downloading's here. It's happened. Stop crying. It's not going away. We got to move on. That was pretty interesting. That was an interesting take on it, I thought, for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. Genie's out of the bottle. I mean, you can bitch. I'm not a good old days type of guy. I'm not.
I'm not either. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, it's like back in the day, I was like, I never say that. It's like, I'll talk about, a long time ago, but I don't look at it like, well, there was this golden era of music. Well, there really wasn't. My record collection's gotten bigger only because time has passed. Not because, I discovered some, well, look, in this year or this time period, there's way better music. Nah, not really. There's just as much shit music always. You go back and look at the top 10, pop charts from the early 70s. It's mostly bands you never heard of. What the fuck is this shit? It's like, I don't know what any of this is. Some stuff survives. Some stuff doesn't. Most of it doesn't. Like rap acts. Can you name a bunch of really famous rap acts from 15 years ago?
Well, that's what I said. There's no classic rap as far as that was a weird thing that I always thought. If you bought a rap CD and then tried to trade it in at Amoeba, they would just be like, no, because there was no shelf life on it. You had NWA, you had Dr. Dre, Wu-Tang Clan, Snoop Dogg, and
my favorite rap record is Raising Hell by Run DMC.
Great record.
I still listen. I listened to that record a couple days ago. At least some songs on it,
Public Enemy, Fear of the Black Planet, masterpiece.
Yeah. I saw Run DMC on that tour.
No, so great. I had DMC on the show. He was killer.
They're really good. I would be lying to say I didn't think that they were fucking amazing. And that guy, DJ Run was he was making all the music. It wasn't on tape. They were doing all of it. It was real stuff. It was really cool. But I saw lots and lots of rap stuff when I lived in San Francisco, and most of it was just, especially live, was just a disaster, just a fiasco. It didn't work. Like, they didn't really know how to be a live thing. They didn't really know how to do it. And then I started seeing them where they would just run the CD and rap over it. And at that point I was done. I was pretty much done.
I mean, I saw Fear of the Black Planet tour, and they got Terminator X up there. He's really DJing the shit. The power coming out of that system at the Shoreline was just incredible. But yeah, there was that time where hip hop, they were using the samplers and it would take so long to load up. Oh man, when's this going to, so all the flow would be gone.
It didn't have it down. And then once they started just running it all on tape, then I think that's when it kind of lost me. And just like, I'm done. I just don't care. I'll always enjoy Run DMC. NWA is funny to some degree,
Yeah.
But beyond that, kind of peaked. It's sort of like with speed metal. Speed metal peaked with Rain and Blood. Angel of Death, it was kind of that peaked right there. It's difficult to go past that. I don't know what you'd have to do with that genre to do it. Meshuggah does it to some degree, a little bit, but beyond that, it's like that's the benchmark. That's it. I mean, where do you go from there? Well, yeah, still waiting.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Metallica was wise. They're like, well, we can't get faster. Let's just do Justice for All. Let's do a prog weird record. And they killed it with that, I loved it.
Yeah, I was, I saw Metallica a bunch of times with Cliff Burton in the band. And they always just live, it just sounded like World War III, It's like, it's actually pretty cool. But I kind of lost interest after maybe Master of Puppets, maybe.
Oh man, the Justice record. You got to get on that, Buzz.
I bought it when it came out. It didn't do anything for me. I couldn't get past the bass drum sound. I couldn't get past it. It sounded like taking a pencil and hitting a piece of paper with it. Tink, tink, tink. It just couldn't make it work. I'm sure you're right. But I met a couple of those guys. They were nice. I met the guitar player a couple of years ago, and he let me hold Peter Green's guitar.
Oh, that guitar's great. I played it a couple months ago. I had him on the show. Yeah, he brought it. Yeah.
That guitar, Peter Green to me is like one of the greatest, the most craziest, weirdest. He's like ZZ Top, except ZZ Top are good times. He's bad times,
Yeah. He's so great.
Yeah, he had that guitar. I was like, oh my God, I felt like grabbing it, holding onto it, and maybe I should just throw this thing, or maybe I should just run with it. Let me touch it. He let you touch it too,
It's amazing that Peter Green had it, and then Gary Moore has it after. So it's like two monster legends.
Yeah, Gary Moore. Was he in did he play that in Thin Lizzy?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Gary Moore. He's dead now. Everybody's dead now. Everybody. We're dead now. That's how it goes. But Peter Green was is one of my favorites. And I got into Peter Green solely because I heard the cover of Green Manalishi on the Unleashed in the East Judas Priest record.
Yep.
That's how I got into Peter Green. And I was like, oh, that's a cover. And it's a cover by this guy, Peter Green, who is in Fleetwood Mac. What?
Yeah.
Now I was like, oh, Fleetwood Mac had a whole nother world before the girls joined the band, and it's like, okay, took it from there. But what Judas Priest opened my eyes to lots of stuff. I still think the Unleashed in the East record is the greatest metal record ever made.
Masterpiece.
It's the best. I think it's the best heavy metal record ever made. It has everything on it. Amazing playing, amazing dynamics. I played it in Phantom Ops with Dave Lombardo, and those guys love Judas Priest. And I was like, well, that drummer on that record, this guy named Les Binks, that guy has all the heavy metal. He goes, Dave's like, that's where I learned all my heavy metal stuff, is that record with Les Binks. And Les Binks, to me, is the unheralded king of heavy metal, of that kind of speed metal, heavy metal drumming. Absolutely. Without question, I think he's the best. His drumming on that record is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And Lombardo goes, that's everything I do right there on that record.
That's what I was talking to Dale about. It was like, this guy's so underrated. You don't ever hear about Les Binks. It's unreal. Like that. You don't hear about this guy.
He's amazing. That record is amazing, I think.
Oh, well, come on. That thing's a masterpiece. The Sinner on there.
Sinner. All the songs are so good. Victim of Changes is the one. That's the one for me.
Yeah.
I just think about that song and get chills, and especially seeing him when the times I saw him do that live, it was just fucking amazing.
The scream in that middle, Victim of Change. You're like, what? That's not even human.
He's still got all of his brain cells, and he's still a super nice guy. So you got to hand it to Rob. Yeah. He's not afraid.
Yeah, I love him. I had him on the show recently. The book is incredible, man.
The book is so good. Confess.
Oh, I love it. I love that, man. What a band, man. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I know Omar and Terry quite well, and I love Crystal Fairy a lot.
Oh, I'm glad. I love that record.
God, it's so cool. Now, I know kind of how it came about. You guys were on tour together, but how fast did the songs come together? Was it just quick sessions and it was up and running, or how did that happen?
It came together really quickly. All the music was mine and Terry's, and some of the songs were a combination of us. She would have some idea and I would have some idea and put them together. But people think, well, you did those songs really fast. Well, a lot of the riffs I had for a long time. It wasn't like I just dreamed them up on the spot. I had ideas for songs, and then I was like, oh, we could do this. This might be really cool. And with her, we had done touring with the Butcherettes, and I thought I could write songs that she could sing that would be really cool. I know I could. And so I really wanted to do it. And so I would write something or have something that I thought would work really well with her. And so then just introduce them. And then when I'm showing him to Dale, she's sitting there listening. And then by the time me and him would have it down and have an arrangement, she would have the lyrics done.
Wow.
And so then we would track the guitar and get a basic track of the guitar and drums. I would do the guitar, do an overdub of the guitar, finish what I was going to do with that. By the time we were done with that, she would be ready to do the vocals.
That's amazing.
It was crazy. And then she'd just go out there and sing it. I got an idea for this. What do you think of that? Oh, great. And then with me and Dale and our engineer Tosh, once we were producing her singing, do that. Oh, that was good. That was really good. Do that. It went boom, 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 just blasted through it, double it or whatever we were going to do. And next thing you know, it's done. And it's just like, we would have all that stuff tracked in no time at all. It was crazy. I'd never been involved in something that was that easy to do. Sometimes with the Melvins, we've done lots of hundreds of songs, recorded hundreds of songs and written. And sometimes it goes really quick, but usually you have to struggle for it a lot more than that, usually, But we've done it a lot of different ways. I've done it where we have went in and recorded songs that we had just wrote and like just learned that day and record it. And then there's ones that we had worked on forever and record it. And, people don't know the difference. Oh, you can tell you really worked on that one. They don't know. No one has any idea, because that's not how music works. It's like, music it's good or bad, and people tend to put too much thought into how you did stuff. I would have that happen with people who would go, look, your Stoner Witch record, I like the songs on that, and but not so much the newer stuff. I go, well, which stuff are you talking about? Well, like, this record with that stuff, I go, actually, I wrote those songs at the same time I wrote the Stoner Witch stuff. It's new to you. It's not new to me. It's like lots of songs. It's like people think it's your new album. It's what you wrote right now. It's like, well, some of it might be new, but some of it could be, 10 years old or older that just didn't happen to make it on the record, or you didn't finish it. Lots of songs. I have songs that, I wrote that song in 93, 94. I just never finished it. Couldn't figure out what to do with it or whatever. And it comes out, oh, you're new material. Well, new to you.
Yeah.
That song could have been on Stoner Witch, People have weird concepts of how they think all that kind of stuff works. You don't just dream this stuff out of nowhere. It's like mining for gold. You pan through a ton of garbage to find one little tiny thing that's good. It's an ongoing process. It never stops. And with them, I would have ideas for songs, and then the song itself would come together quickly, but the idea had been germinating with me for a long time. All the songs that I wrote on there. And same with her. Oh, I've got this idea for something. Well, it's not something she just dreamed up on the spot.
Right.
You already have, and when you're playing with people like Dale, they don't need a lot of, beating the song to death for months in a rehearsal place. They don't need it. A lot of times they can just, what they come up with is going to be good. Their instincts are so good. You don't have to worry about that. A lot of instances. I play with Dale and Steven now, and man, you got two guys like that playing with you. You got it covered. All you have to do is take them off the leash, give them some direction, and they will do it better than you can do it. And I always think you get a much better song if you let people do their fucking job. Just let them do their job, especially at that point. So that's kind of what we did with Crystal Fairy. I didn't have to worry. I knew Terry could do it. All I had to do is let her do it. Give her the confidence to do it. Give her the, go ahead. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Just push them a little bit. You're on the right track. Do it. I think it's the best way to produce anything, is to take what's good and focus on that, as opposed to trying to mold them into something that they're not.
Yeah. Then you start to lose confidence, and then the whole thing goes down the shithole,
Well, it is possible to beat something to death, to flog it so much you've flogged what was good about it out of it, and you've lost the life of the song. Not always, but sometimes it's good to have it be fresh. Like if I present something to Dale or Steven, I will get a different performance out of them on the first day than I will after the 10th day. And it doesn't necessarily mean after 10 days it's going to be better. It's just going to be different. That's it. Musical taste is arbitrary. You don't know what is good, what's bad. It depends. If what you want is a cassette recording, with everything's overdriven, and you think that's good, who am I to tell you that's not good? It's anybody's guess. If you want to flog your songs to death for 8 months in a rehearsal place before you record them, who am I to tell you it's not right? Go ahead. But to me, having done all those kinds of ways, there's no one way to do it. There's lots of ways to do it. They're not all bad. They're not all good. So sometimes they're good. Sometimes it works.
What do you feel are the differences in the drumming flavors of Dale and Mike? Because you've got two different drummers over the years, as far as like what's going on right now. Mike's back playing on this new record.
Mike is the original drummer, and he is not anywhere near the ability of Dale, and nor would he say he was anywhere near the ability of Dale.
Right. So
with that in mind, I wrote songs that Mike could play. And that was a fun challenge too. It's like, I got to write songs that this guy who is a good drummer, but he's not. I'm with Dale. I'm playing with, arguably one of the most competent drummers in the entire world. There's nothing I could throw at him that he couldn't do. Like I want it to be, start off with, that sounds like a combination of Ginger Baker crossed with the guy from Devo crossed with, the guy from the Gang of Four, and end it with the John Bonham thing. Okay. And then maybe a hip hop thing thrown in. Oh, no problem. I see what you mean. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Do it. I don't have to think about it. You know what I mean? It's like, I was thinking, what would this sound like if you didn't do, it's like, okay, yeah, no problem. And it's like, I'm so used to working with that under those kind of conditions where it all works. Started off with a country feel, end with a heavy metal feel, and then go into a speed metal thing. Okay. Got it. I know what to do. So I've worked with that for so long. It's I don't think about like what the limitations are with the drumming, because I don't think there is any. Whereas with Mike, if I throw something at him, it's just not fair. It's like, I want to write a record with Mike in mind, and I want it to be Melvins 1983. Well, in Melvins 1983, we couldn't write songs like that. I couldn't write songs like that. So I want to do it more along the lines of what would have been possible then with the drummer that we had then. And how do you make that work? Well, I'm up for the challenge. I can make that work. I can write a song with that in mind. No problem. I want to do it. And so Melvins 1983 isn't something that we get to do all the time, because he's a union machinist with a family and a wife, and lives in the same town that we grew up in. And that was just how that was going to work. And which is why I left, and why he's not playing, we didn't continue playing with him, because the limitations were obvious from the beginning. But I have remained friends with him since we were in high school, and making music with him has always been a fun thing to do. And I wanted to continue doing it. We did an album with him 4 or 5 years ago, Tres Cabrones, and it was time to do a new one. So that's what we did. So I wrote songs with him in mind.
I think about this sometimes, because I'm from the Bay Area, also spent many years up there. But as you get older, is there any attraction to moving back to that area and the kind of the mellowness of it? Is there any of that going on in your head?
Oh, no. I wouldn't move back there. I mean, San Francisco I moved there in 86, 87.
Yeah.
That was the first big city I ever lived in. And I never lost my fondness for it. And I was a big movie buff forever. So I was very excited to move to the city that where Vertigo and, all that stuff was filmed, and see all those kinds of things in Bullet, and we'll go around and see and so I was super excited about being there, and the
Magnum Force,
all of that. Dirty Harry. I wanted to be in that city. I wanted to be there. And so I have never lost my fondness for that city ever. And it was a magical experience for me from the beginning. It's not a big place. San Francisco is actually a very small town on the peninsula. There's nowhere else for it to go. The population's about the same as it's been for 100 years. They can't build up because of the earthquakes. They have a difficult time with that. So it's really essentially not a whole lot different than it ever was as far as that's concerned. And, just the idea of driving around that city, especially then, and just like from the Cliff House to the Tenderloin in, less than 15 minutes, and everything in between, I was completely immersed in and totally fascinated with, but along the same lines, I equally feel the same about San Francisco, or about Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I've been here now a lot, like 20 years more than I was in San Francisco. And I really like Los Angeles. I feel like it's where I belong. And I like all of its crazy history too. All the crazy shit that's went on here. I don't have any fault with any of that. And I love the weather. I love the weather in San Francisco too, though. I love that.
I do too.
I loved it. But, I don't have a bad thing to say about my experience there. The only reason I moved away was because my wife lived in LA. That's it. Not because I hated San Francisco or anything like that. I mean, I had a really amazing time in my life there. I wrote some unbelievable music. It was where our career really started. And I don't have any bad memories of it. None. But my life restarted in LA with my wife, and the best part of my life has been since we got married. So almost 30 years. So.
Wow. I was telling Dale that there was that period where I just roam Haight Street and, and Melvins and Tool and early Soundgarden and even Love Bone was kind of the soundtracks pouring out of those bars that I was hanging in and those clubs I was playing at, Night Break and the I-Beam and all that. It was amazing. The Melvins were really, really the soundtrack of the hate, Well,
we had lots of friends there, and that's where our band really started, really for real, was in San Francisco. Seattle to some degree, but it was better for me to move somewhere else to start over. Much better on my own. we never had Sub Pop or any of those kinds of people helping us. So
yeah,
didn't have to worry about that. We did a whole different thing on our own terms and never looked back. But San Francisco and that scene was where it really flowered for us. That's where it really worked. And we started out in San Francisco playing places like first couple shows were at Gilman Street, but I never really got along with those people. I never understood it, and I never wanted to be a part of it. I just thought it was a bunch of crap. And a bunch of people telling me, rock star, you guys think you're rock stars. I never didn't think anything like that. You guys are out of your minds. You're completely out of your minds. I'm doing my part by being a band and rehearsing and having a rehearsal place and doing all this stuff and writing songs and making music. I am contributing to the scene. If you want to pretend like I'm not, and at the end of the night, you want to put a fucking broom in my hand and make me sweep out the club like everybody else. It's like, motherfucker, I was in a rehearsal place this whole fucking week. Where were you? Fuck you. Were you down there helping me? Fuck you. I did my part. I did my job. And you want to live in some weird equitarian world where it's like we're all equal. I know we're equal, and I've done a lot more work than you have. So fucking blow me. And I have no interest in your fucking bullshit punk rock crap. You guys think this is punk rock? You're not punk rock. It's a bunch of one-dimensional garbage. Fuck off. I have nothing to do with it. Well, I guess you guys should just be playing bars in San Francisco. Go, bitch, we'll play wherever we can.
Yeah.
Give me a break. You guys are the ones that are the elitist pricks, not me. Fuck you. I want nothing to do with this. And I've not changed my mind about any of that. I hate that kind of stuff. It's like, give me a break. I do my job and I work really fucking hard at it. And you want to pretend that's not the case? Fuck you.
Yeah, I can relate to that big time. I don't understand gatekeepers and rule makers of people. This is our scene and we're the real deal and all that. It's like, fuck off, man. If you're in art, you're the real deal, man. It's so goddamn hard.
And all I have to do is wait. And you assholes will be gone. I've got the fucking cojones to wait you out, and I will do it. And guess what? Here I am. Guarantee you, there's not a single person at that club that was there at that point. Not one. So they're all doing something else, whether it's Lawrence Livermore or whoever it is. Those guys are all gone. They're not even involved in the music. So you know what? Fuck you guys. I don't give a fuck about your shit. I never did. I always thought it was a bunch of lousy ass crap. I wasn't wrong. And where are you now? Oh yeah, doing nothing. How punk rock of you. You sold out and moved to Tahoe or whatever. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. They got a tech job. We know
whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but it certainly isn't musical. Yeah. Nothing to do with it.
Let's talk a little bit about the new record.
Working with God.
Great title. And it's funny. I watched the Night Stalker documentary last night. God damn, Buzz. You got to watch this thing. It's 4 parts. It goes quick. And it immediately made me think of like, oh yeah, I'm working with God. Like you start to gravitate towards spiritual stuff after seeing such goddamn evil,
Yeah, it is a good. I haven't watched the documentary yet, but I know quite a bit about it. It does give you a really good idea of why people should be armed.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Guess why? Not everybody out there is nice.
Holy shit! Especially in Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s. The 80s. It was gnarly here in the 80s.
It's big cities. I mean, I'm sure worse in Detroit, but you got to have your guard up. You got to not be stupid.
Totally.
Take care of yourself because there's bad people out there. Not everybody's good. I don't feel safe in any city.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where it is. I always am not on the verge of paranoia, but I just think it's being prudent. And I grew up around the rednecks. I don't feel safe around them either. So.
Oh, absolutely not.
None of them. No, I don't feel happy or safe in any of those environments. I'm a weirdo who understands every time I go out of the house, I got to face that kind of thing. That's fine. I'm up for the challenge. It's okay. I don't look like Joe Blow, normal guy. And under those circumstances, I have to expect it. And I do, so it's not a big deal. I can deal with it. I know how to handle it. And if you want to fight, okay, I'll fight.
Yeah, I get it. With hair, if you got a different hairdo or you got a different clothing or whatever, you become a target without even, knowing it, walking down the street. I mean, it, but somebody could drive by and be like, look at this fucking guy, and then turn around and it's on,
Yeah. I used to, when I was a kid, growing up where I grew up, I used to carry a fucking hunting knife with me all the time. I never had any idea that it was all going to work out. And I certainly never thought that somebody was going to come and save me. You got to do those things on your own all the time, but that's okay.
So recording this new record, how quick did you guys put it together? Was it just pop in and I know that since Mike lives up in Washington still, that was probably just the only obstacle, right? Other than that, you guys can just do everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we have our own studio here, which is great, but it took us a long time to do it because we don't have a lot of time with Mike. We would have, it was a couple sessions over the course of probably a year and a half, but me and Dale would work on the songs and then send them to him, and then he would listen to them and then work on whatever he was going to do on it. And then he would come down eventually, but he has to work out he would have to work out vacation time and fly down after work on a Thursday night, arrive, and then we'd go in the studio on Friday, Saturday, and then leave late on Sunday and go back to work on Monday. That's how we did it. And there's a couple sessions, I think. So he would get there and we would be ready, and to get as much of his stuff done as we could. He would know what the songs were already before he got there. And then he would lay down his part. We would just work on getting his parts, getting as much work as we could done with him before he had to leave. And then when the pressure's off like that, it's you just have to work on this song. Let's just work on this song now. And finally get a good take of it after, and we'd run through it, practice it for a while. And then we would have some suggestions here and there, and then run a couple practice takes of it, and then start working on the whole thing. And then he'd finally get a nice, good, hot take of the whole thing, and we'd move on to the next thing. That's how we did it. There's no other way to do it. We can't practice like a normal band. It's not possible. Me and Dale can, And so then we would send him demo ideas about the whole thing. And then once we had the drums done, then me and Dale would go to work on, we'd have scratch guitars on there or whatever, scratch vocals. And then we would go to work doing our end of it, doing the guitars, the vocals, and the bass, and anything else we want to do. If you want to do weird percussion overdubs or any other strange instrumentation, all without Mike being there. And then we would send that stuff to him, rough mixes, and go, what do you think of this stuff? Oh, it sounds great. He's so agreeable. That's I don't think I could have sent him anything that he wouldn't have liked. So he'd be like, oh, sounds great, no matter what we did. So, and then I think he was always amazed. When you just hear drums with scratch instruments, it sounds so primitive compared to what it ends up sounding like when everything's done and nice vocals are on it. You got, the real guitars and real bass. And then, oh my God, I can't believe how much different this sounds from, it's right. Once you really do a number on it and do your, we know how to do it. Guitar stuff. I'll run a couple different guitars with a couple different amp setups and run through the song a bunch of times and figure out what overdubs I want to do on it. And once you get all that done, it sounds much different than, just a demo of it. I mean, people don't have any idea what kind of recording stuff is or how it works. And with us, we work pretty quickly and we know what we're doing. I kind of have an idea what I want to do. And our engineer, Toshi's got a lot of good ideas for stuff. And this record sounds great. It sounds really good.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the way the guitars came out and the vocals, and really, really happy with it. And that's only gotten better as time has went on. We have our own studio, and learning how to do all that kind of stuff has been really great. How to trust the process. We don't run click tracks or any of that kind of stuff. We run, it's pretty organic as far as that's concerned. So it's not like some clip and paste type of situation. Not at all. I don't see any point. I can play it. I can make it work. I don't have to cut and paste every single drum part or any of that bullshit. We don't do any of that. He can play it. It's not that hard. He can make it work. Once he gets it, everybody can do that. If you just give him give them the space. Like we're saying about Terry or whoever, just give them the space to do it. They'll be able to do it.
Over the years, were you ever approached by, say, a Rick Rubin or somebody like that to produce a record? Like, hey, I'd really like to do a Melvins record. Somebody like Dave Jordan or any of those guys?
No. I'm sure they would have if we'd have offered them a bunch of money. Hey, hey Rick, we have $250,000. Do you want to do our new? I'm sure that's how you get through to those guys. You just offer money. That's the most important thing that you have to do to get a big name producer, is to offer them a bunch of money. And no, I was never in a position to do that. Well, I don't think I would have. I never had any interest. It's like, what do I want to sound like? Well, I can't think of anything, any producer that's worked on stuff that I would go, I really want to sound like that. Maybe it would have been fun to work with Roy Thomas Baker, but beyond that, I can't really think of anyone that I would be like, I can't wait to work with you. Or it'd be so great to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. I just can't think of anyone. Nobody. I would like to collaborate with musicians like we did with Crystal Fairy. That I like doing. That's a lot of fun.
Who would you like to work with?
Oh God. Right now, trying to think. Nobody off the top of my head, but there's plenty of people out there I would.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that I would like. There's people that I'm not going to say that just said no. No, I don't want to do it. Okay. And then the funny thing is, then you listen to what they do. You're like, why would you do that? You don't want to work with us. Okay. Whatever. Let's move on. But we've done lots of collaborations with people. Lots. We got a new one coming out with this band from Seattle, or Tacoma, Seattle area, called Helms Ali, and we did a EP with them that's going to come out. We got to finish it, and that'll come out soon. That came out really good, so I'm really looking forward to that. So at some point this year it'll come out. Got to get it done.
When you're recording, do you ever go off of this kind of nerdy guitar stuff, but do you ever get off humbucker sound and go single coils, Strats or Tellys or anything? Or is it always just humbucker, Les Paul type of stuff?
It's almost never humbucker, Les Paul type stuff in the studio.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't been for a long time.
Wow.
There was one record I did a few years ago where the Nude with Boots record, I did that whole record with my original Les Paul, the 1970 red Sunburst Les Paul that I had on my first records. I did the whole album with that record. I did every overdub. I did every part with just with that guitar. No one noticed. No one said a fucking word. That record sounds so much. It's one guitar.
Yeah.
And it's not only is it one guitar, it's my original fucking Les Paul that I used. Not one person ever mentioned anything about that. Oh wow, but the funny thing about that is, like, if you take a song like album like Stoner Witch, people assume, oh, you're using that. It's like, I might have used Les Paul, some of it on there, but I used lots of guitars. And it's like, they're like, I like your Les Paul sound like on the song Revolve. I'm like, Revolve doesn't have a Les Paul on it.
Well, I know guitars inside and out and stuff. And when you hear the Melvins, it's so thick and dirgy that I just assume it's a PAF or a humbucker or whatever. Cause usually sometimes you go like, oh, this P90 and this is obviously a Strat sound, but if you're running it through, I guess some pedals and super dirt, then it doesn't really matter what the pickup is.
Well, it just depends. It depends on how you mic it, what kind of amp you're using. Lots of stuff happens. Like Revolve is a Jackson guitar that the engineer had, and for the main rhythm, with a Mustang along with it. So it's doubled the whole time, and the guitar solo is a Strat.
Wow! Wow!
Yeah. Yeah. So people go, that Les Paul sound you have. I go, what? It's not a fucking Les Paul. Sorry.
Yeah. You got a big collection of guitars?
I have quite a few guitars, but not I'm weird when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I like new guitars. I'm not a vintage guy. So I have mostly new stuff. Well, new to me, like new meaning in the 90s. I had a few older guitars. I sold those. I prefer new guitars, actually. Like I would prefer the newest Les Paul Custom over a one from the 70s or 60s. I like them better. I still have my original Les Paul. I have a couple Les Pauls from the late 80s, early 90s, and and I also play these electrical guitar company guitars, which are aluminum, and I have Les Paul pickups in them. What I didn't like about the Les Pauls was the bridge position or the neck position pickup was always too hot. It's too hot. And so what I did was I had the guy from electrical. It has a Les Paul pickup in the rear position right by the bridge.
Yep.
But I put a way lower powered, meaning it has way less whines I had to make a pickup that has way less whines for the neck position. So it's not as tough sounding. And that was the key to me, because I always had trouble with middle position Les Pauls. I always had trouble with feedback because the fucking neck pickup's too hot.
Yeah, microphonic.
Once I did that, it changed the game. And he's like, oh my God, everybody's going to want to do this. It sounds so great. And you know what? Nobody wants to do it because guitar players are some of the most conservative people on the fucking planet. They will not try it. They won't even he's like, just try this. It sounds so good. He goes, everybody's going to love this. Nobody. They won't even try it. No, I want a regular pick. I was like, okay. I'm telling you, this changed the game for me. Once I did that, it was like, oh my God, this is such a great idea. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Because with my Les Pauls or with the guitars I play live, I would say a massive part of my style is with the switch. I'm switching that thing all the time. So what the Les Paul, for people that don't know, the Les Paul switch or Les Paul style switch, because I have all my electric guitar company, even the Travis Beans that I play that he made have Les Paul pickups in them with an underpowered pickup in the neck position. They all have the Les Paul switch in the right spot, the same spot as the Les Paul. Oh, I can't play it live because I need that thing for live, and I have them turn sideways instead of up and down, so I don't turn it on and off accidentally. And so when I have it towards the bridge position, that's full blast. In the middle is not half blast, a little less than half blast, where I have it's a combination of both pickups with the neck position pickup rolled way off, so that you get a loud sound with no feedback if you stop. And then the neck position is the quietest sound I'm going to do all night. So I don't turn on and off boxes to get those tones. I do it all with the guitar. So I have loud, medium, and quiet, all just on the guitar. And because I don't want to sit there and dance around on boxes all night. Now, the only boxes I'll use, so I turn on and off, I'll use a compressor and I'll use a delay. That's it. But and I have like a special effects pedal. I'll change it in and out of the pedal board once in a while. But I want all of the tone and volume changes to come from the guitar, not from the fucking pedal at all. So my distortion's on all the time, but the guitar controls like where the positioning of where the volume of the thing is. And I don't mess around with the knobs. Like when I'll get out there first on stage, then I'll find the right spot for the rhythm pickup in the middle. And that's a spot where I can stop the strings without it feeding back. And once you find that sweet spot, then you're good to go for the rest of the show. It's still, and then I go back and forth between those all the time, multiple times, and then quiet to loud to medium all the time. Nobody notices it's up on top, and I'm doing it with my hands all the time. But without that, my guitar playing live is completely different. Nobody ever notices that. You switch that thing all the time. Once in a while, I'll have somebody going, you do all of your tone off of the guitar, not on the boxes. Yeah, all of it. Don't hit a box. So my pedal board's behind me. It's not in front of me.
It's like the old days when they would roll the volume back and up and back for, different tones, clean it up and all that stuff for sure.
Yes. But you have them all set with a Les Paul. You can have 3 volumes set and not have to touch the volume controls.
Oh, wow.
Wow. You know what I mean? Because they're preset right there. You set them and then they're ready to go with that switch. That's the genius of it. So all my live guitars have to have that switch. They don't have that. I mean, I could do it, but it'd be way a pain in the ass. Like where a SG, where the switch is down below, I can't do it. It's not in the right spot. I need that thing at the top. It's part of my playing. Like if you look at a Hendrix is playing an upside down Strat. All the controls are on the top, and then the whammy bar is even on the top. It's not on the bottom. So that's part of his playing is having all that shit up there. And you watch how he does it. He's switching and moving shit up there all the time. But if it's on the bottom, it's way harder for him to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That changes his whole style. Learning how to play on the wrong guitar for him made all the difference in the world. Without that, he's got that 3 to 5 position switch depending on the Strat that he can fuck with all 3 pickups and the volume controls and tone control and a whammy bar on the top that's not on the bottom. Completely different. So I even went so far as to buy a left-handed Strat and had it strung right-handed, so that I could see exactly what it was he was doing and why it was so important. And man, oh man, that is a fucking game changer on a Strat. That changes everything. You change that, it's like you're playing from a whole nother universe, because you can't play over top of that shit. You have to play below it.
Yeah.
Your hand position has to be below it. So that's why he had his guitar up higher, so he could play below all that stuff and not. It's fucking crazy. Once you put it on, you're like, oh my god.
Also, if you turn it around, the pickups are in the different location for the fat E string.
Yes.
So you're not, you're getting this totally different total different tone.
Yeah. So here's a guy who doesn't have one single thing that a guitar teacher would ever teach anyone. It's all wrong. And all of his hand positions, how he does it, how he hold, the guitar, all of it is wrong, but he's the best.
Yeah.
Nobody's teaching how he did it. Nobody, but he's the best. But, will you teach me to do that? No, everything he's doing is wrong. Oh, okay, he's wrong, but he's the best. So it's like, I think all that stuff is completely backwards, and people have to start thinking outside the box, or guitar playing is going to go nowhere. Outside the box.
Where are you at with amps?
I use these Hillbish amps that are solid state, that are takeoffs of the Sun beta leads and preamps, and then I use a Crown power amp for the power, so I don't use any tubes, none. Studio I do. We have a bunch of different amps. I'll use a combination of Soldano, and we use a Vox, and we have a Marshall, a Dales, and we have a Fender head, and what we have them all set up so we can switch between all of them and we have a 4x12 and a bass cabinet mic'd up out there. And then I also have a few, like probably 5 or 6 combo amps that we use. I have a Ibanez combo that's really cool. I have a couple Supros, the reissue models of those that are really fucking great. I have a combo with a Supro with a 15 in it that's really great. And I haven't actually used that for recording much. I've used it a little bit. And then we have a Roland JC120.
Great amp.
That Dale used. Those are great. And then Dale has a Fender. I think it's a Super. The one I can't remember I get those confused. It's the one with 4 10-inches in it, whatever that one is. So we have a wide variety of that stuff, and then we have a couple of, like, a Mesa Boogie bass amp and a couple other things like that we run. We have all that stuff set up ready to go in our studio. We just have to. Today I'll try this with the Marshall. I'll try this with the Vox. I'll try this with the Fender or whatever.
Fender Super Reverb's a fantastic amp with the 410s, and the Bassman Tweed killer too with the 410s.
Yeah, I'm of the belief now, I've talked about this with Dale, that you could put us in a studio with any gear and we can make it work.
I believe that too. Yeah, I saw Billy Gibbons play a plastic guitar and he sounded like Billy Gibbons. He killed it. It was just like, what the fuck?
It's the Indian, not the arrow. It really is. I love the reliability of the solid state stuff. And the Hillbish has designed a distortion box for me and a compressor for me, and I think he's a genius, electronics genius, and he designed those amps that were takeoffs of the beta leads that I was using from the late 70s. And he goes, "You want to try this?" And he sent it to our engineer, knowing that I would see it. And I go, "Oh my God, let me try this thing." And then he goes, "If you take it on tour and give it a whirl, see how it goes." So I took it out and used it every night on the Napalm Death tour we did. And I was like, I put this thing through the ringer and it's fucking awesome. So I immediately bought like 3 more, So I highly recommend the Hillbish preamp. And he builds ones now that have a power amp in it. He built the preamp and he builds amps that have power. I would highly recommend it. Hillbish, he's the man. He's in Virginia.
Wow, that's cool. I love that old Sun shit, man. That stuff was great. I had a Sun guitar amp. It had a 115 though. And it wasn't a bass rig, but it would just never get dirty because it was a 15. I had to get an MXR Distortion Plus, but it was killer.
Well, for a long time, I used 2 beta leads strung together with a 4x12 and a double 15 cabinet.
Oh, wow.
So if you put in two 15s and a 4x12, the 4x12 will balance out what you're not getting out of the 15s, and it sounds fucking awesome. I think the 15s are the most underrated guitar speakers. You know,
that was Stevie Ray Vaughan, man. He loved it. The Vibroverb.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. And anybody you want to get a better guitar sound, put 15s in there. You're not going to get just like what normal people use, what normal people can buy a double 15 cabinet and a 4x12. That's all you're going to need. You're going to blow the roof off. That's going to be more low end than you can handle. And that would be a good bass rig even, And that's the other thing. The preamps that I'm using, they're bass preamps. They're not guitar preamps.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I love it. I love it. And I'm into the solid state thing. I got into those because in the mid 80s, early to mid 80s, I was using a Park amp. It's like a takeoff of a Marshall. I kept fucking smoking the power transformer and I couldn't afford to buy them anymore. And I was like, I got to find something that will work that's solid state. And that's how I found the Beta leads. And then you could buy those for $50 a piece, and they sound outrageously good. And these new ones that the Hillbish is making, they're brand new solders. They're not fucking 40 years old. They're totally reliable. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. But you have to approach the guitar, especially using solid state stuff. You have to approach it with an open mind because it's not a fucking tube amp. So if you walk up there and dial it in like it's a tube amp, it's going to sound like dog shit. You can't do that. You gotta have a fresh approach to how this is going to work. It is not a Marshall.
Yeah.
But I can make it sound, like a roaring nightmare. Absolutely. And never have a fucking problem with a tube ever. Doesn't have to.
Well, you got amazing tone, man.
And I really like that. I love it. And I really love the idea that with my speaker cabinets and with this guy from Texas that does Tyrant speaker cabinets are amazing. Love it. He's really great. And then I like the idea that most of the gear that I'm using, from the electrical car company to Hillbish, are guys that are not working for a giant company. It's you call up electrical guitar company. I talk to the guy. I call up Hillbish. I talk to Hillbish. Kevin Burkett from Electrical. If I call that up, I'm going to talk to Kevin. If I call up, a Hillbish, I'm going to talk to Hillbish. I'm not going to get some, and I really like to have that kind of hands-on approach to really talk to these people about what I love, because they're fans and they're big music guys. And I want to pick their brains and figure out how to make this work. And I want to have the idea that when I walk out on stage, my rig from my guitar down is no one else on the planet has what I'm using.
I love dudes like that too. I feature them on my podcast all the time. I love these guys, these handmade boutique companies. I just had this guy, Matt Hughes, on from Banker Guitars, and he's making the stuff for Mastodon and Marcus King and Rival Sons. And this shit, these guys care, you know what I mean? They're like, God, that's my fucking guitar on the Melvins record,
It's great. It's great. You should talk to Hillbish and you should talk to
That'd
Kevin
be great.
Burkett, both.
That'd be great.
You should look at the electrical guitar company guitars. Those are
I'm going to hit them up for sure. Where you at before we get out of here? Where you at? Are you a comedy guy? You into stand-up comedy?
I'm certainly, if you are, I'm certainly not an expert. My favorite are probably Lenny Bruce, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a comedian, so I always like to ask people if they're into comedy, because sometimes singers want to be comedians and, comedians want to be rockers. That's the old thing. But so I always like to ask people. Sam
Kinison, his whole deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's funny. A lot of them I don't think are very funny. Most of them probably I just don't think are funny. Who's your favorite?
Well, I mean, it just depends what era you're talking about. I mean, it could be Pryor, it could be Jonathan Winters, it could be Bob Newhart, it could be Chappelle, Rickles. I do like Rickles. I do like Rickles a lot, man. He was just so radical. It's just, it matters what era we're talking about. Comedy goes so far back, I mean, Carlin is a goddamn genius, but there's dudes right now that crush it, all Dave Attell. I called the Melvins basically the Dave Attell of music. I always feel like they're not not big, but the right people like them. And that's what I told Dale. And somebody hit me up yesterday and said, that's a great fucking analogy. I love talking to you. And I've seen the band a few times. I love the band. And I would see you around town at different things over the years. And it was great to finally get to talk to you. And the record comes out February 15th. And it is called Working with God. It sounds fantastic. I love that song Hound, I was telling Dale. Yeah. And I like Caddy Daddy a lot, man. And Hot Fish. Great record here, man. Just all these years still killing it.
Hound has some of my favorite guitar playing.
God, I love Hound. Oh, you know what song you really killed it on was the Crystal Fairy Bent Teeth, man. I always wanted to tell you that. God damn, you crush it on that.
Thank you. I love that record. And we got a podcast. We got a streaming thing coming out on Valentine's Day. Oh, that's
great. Where can they see this?
Veeps, Melvins Veeps. We're gonna announce it this Friday. Right. So you can buy tickets to that. So it'll be really fun. It's got interviews and live stuff on it as well. So about an hour. Melvin's TV.
So great. Thank you, man. Thank you. And I will tweet about that also and get it out there with this episode. Thank you so much for doing this. And I hope to see you again. Probably 2022 on the stage, you know?
Going the way things are, you know?
Yeah.
But I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
So much.
See ya. Later.
Yeah, bye-bye.